All right, now that we're doing have a basic synth instrument, we need to work on envelopes. And so this next set of videos are going to show you some ways to do that before we start doing polyphony. Um, so we're going to use our basic synth. We've got our note input. We're working with this basic audio MIDI patch. So let's first save it as a new patch. So it's our basic audio. I'm going to start calling it basic synth. And this one is ADSR. It's going to use an ADSR envelope because there's that object in Max that does this. So let's change a little bit. We don't need what you don't want to do. We can still use portamento time from here, but we're not going to do the amp with a line. So we're going to make a few changes, just a few changes right in here with the ramp time. We're not going to use ramp time. That's an extra thing. So I'll put my mod wheel up here with my other stuff. We're not going to use the ramp time, pack, or line. We're going to instead use an ADSR envelope. So the ADSR wants an attack, a decay, a sustain, and a release time. So let's do something, say maybe a 10 millisecond attack. Go a little sharper. Let's go 5 millisecond attack. Let's say there's initial decay of 250 milliseconds. There'll be a sustained level of, say, 0.4 in the amplitude, and let's have a release of maybe 750 milliseconds. And let's make them all floats. So let's go back and fix that. That gives a little more resolution. And what this does is it sends out a ramp signal, so that can go straight into our multiplication object for scaling the amplitude. What it's looking for, let's spread it out a little bit for its inputs, but what it's looking for is this MIDI amp. When it is non-zero, that will trigger the envelope, and it will also scale the maximum amplitude of the envelope. So it gives you velocity sensitivity. When it's zero, it triggers the release. So all I need to do is hook this up, and I should be able to play a note. It sustains, and when I let go of the key, it releases. So I have envelope control. All I did is get rid of the line object coming in and replace it with an ADSR. I'm using the amplitude. It's kind of polyphonic aware in the sense that it's going to re-trigger the envelope from wherever you are unless you give it an attribute. So it lets you play a monophonic synth line by taking over. Actually, it appears that it's going back to zero no matter when I do. It goes back to zero when it gets a new note, gets a zero amp and a new amp on. It's going back to zero to let the frequency change and everything else. It can be set to not do that if you have a portamento time for your anyway, the portamento still works. So let's go back to just setting up some controls. So just to see what you could do, and also we could store some presets. So I am going to set up some dials. And what I want to do is have a value so I can see it. I want for each one. And I also want to be able to label it. So maybe I'll make this even bigger so I can give my amplitude. Take out that comment. So this is going to be my attack time. And what I want to do is scale this. So by default, it's 0 to 127, has 128 steps, but I can decide what I want this range to be. So my attack can have, let's see, let's have my number of steps be 1,000. Now, if I drag on this, 0 to 999. And I can do that any sort of way. And if I hold down the Shift key as I drag, I get fine-tuning. Or if I just drag, I'll get quick without the Shift key. So then I need unlock. I can make a thing for initial decay time. And that can have the same set of values for now. Amplitude. Well, I've already done one thing wrong on all of these. I put in integer boxes when I want to put in floats. So let's pull that out, make that a float, and then make that a float, because especially for amplitude, I need floating values under, floating point values 1 and under. So this now, let's make it have, we can keep it as having 1,000 steps, 100 steps, and the minimum value is 0. The step multiplier is, let's have it have 101 steps. The minimum value is 0. The maximum value, or the step multiplier, can be 0.01. Now this one, when I lock it, will give me, oops, it's not giving me. So let's check. Number of steps, minimum step, clip dial. Float output. Knew that was there somewhere. Now here we go. So I can set an amplitude. It goes all the way up to 1.01. So let's go back and make it 100. There. So we can set amplitude. And then we need, let's copy this one for release time. But let's make our range, our dial range, be larger. So instead of 1,000, let's do up to 2,000. So now I can create attack times, decay times, so a shorter one. I'll go a little bit longer. Bring down the amplitude and up the release. And you can see when I'm releasing the key, if you follow the amplitude. If I'm going to do something, say with a slow attack, I'm going to get rid of the initial decay, have the amplitude be 1, and have a long decay. Right, so now I have some control. The last thing I want to do would be to hook up a preset object. And the preset object could let me store some amp envelopes. And so I'm only going to hook up the amp envelopes to it. Connect to objects to include in presets. So let's just hook the dials up. Remember, decide whether you want the numbers or the dials. the numbers reflect what's on the dial, so I think you want to hook up the dials. Hold down the shift key, I can make multiple patch cord connections. And if I hold down the option key, I can drag over them. I can do a shift command Y and they'll all line up. Gives me a little bit cleaner patch. So remember, shift click to store, click to recall. Let's go back to my original, which is going to be, whoops, get back lined up. Lock it. Let's go back to my original. So 5 and 250 and 0.4 and 750 around there, and I'll shift click to store. Then I could do let's do something with actually 0 sustain, and it will have longer decay and release of, say, like 900. Them both up to be about the same. This doesn't have any sustain. Let's make that all the way to 0. I can make that number 2. Shift click. Go back to 1. Go to 2. I can make something now with a long entrance, no decay, full sustain, long decay, long release. Save that as 3. I just want to make sure, save preset in patcher, so that's going to get saved with my patcher. And I've got a patch now with some envelope control. And all is good. So the next one I'll show you is how to do a kind of arbitrary envelope with a function editor, but this is good for now. I'm going to save it and add some comments, and I'll upload it. So there you go. See you next time.